Hi, welcome back. Today, I'm going to introduce culture schema theory. Schema is well-known concept which is related to our intelligent functions, the function of intelligence. The original concept is from the Immanuel Kant. He imagined kind of this theory, schema. The schema is some kind of storage in our brain. This is some kind of useful concept to explain how we adapt to new knowledge. And so some culture scholars use this concept to explain adaptation theories. Exactly, the cultural schema is come from the concept. So this theory, cultural schema theory, is about how our memory functions for adapting to new cultures. Right? New culture is a new knowledge, so our brain is working to adapt, to understand, to figure out how the working, what is its identity of the new culture. New culture is kind of the knowledge, right? So new information, new data. So our brain is working when we face a new culture. That is why this author thinking about the cultural schemas. So let me see. Let me give you an example. Imagine that you are invited by French friends and the host prepared some dishes. For main dishes is snail, French snail. You know the French snail. He cooked French snail for you. That is something new to you. How can you figure out how to eat the French snail? If you have just the experience of eating fishes, it is difficult for you to figure out how to eat. Just like this movie clip, watch this one.
What do you plan to do with the company?
Break it up and sell off the pieces?
I'm sure you understand I'm not thrilled at the idea of your turning 40 years of my work into your garage sale.
At the price I'm paying for this stock, Mr. Morse, you are going to be a very rich man.
I'm rich enough. I just want to head my shipyard.
What do you think about it? The Pretty Woman is a little bit thin. I have it, this French snail meal is not difficult for me because we live nearby the seaside. The Busan is a Korean harbor city. So we have experienced kind of snail or shellfish is more closer to snail. So it's a similar one. So we can easily figure out how to eat or how to handle this new information. So if you have experience of eating, maybe if you have experience of eating shell like a snail, just like me, you are more comfortable than the other people. Why? Our similar experience help us to adapt to new cultures, new situation, new information. Culture schema theory try to explain how we adapt to new culture from cognitive perspective of mind. The last we talk about anxiety. Anxiety is kind of affectional, the emotional part of our heart, our mind. But this theory is related to the cognitive perspective of mind. According to the neuroscience, our behavior and past experience are stored in our brain, which is called our memory, right? The memory. The storage of the memory is schema. Repeated and similar experience or similar information or stimulation make some network of circular neuron. As you can see, just one part of a neuron, they make a connect to each similar one. They make a structure of schemas, right? So the circuit of a neuron is considered a schema. However, the inconsistent information does not make a circuit. That is why we study repeatedly. Repeat exercise, repeated information make a habit, right? The habits make us unconscious adaptation to new culture. That is a skill. So that is why we exercise and repeated new information repeatedly to make a schema. Our human memory selected abstract, integrate, and normalize information. Our human memory, because we have generated knowledge by using our data, which is our experience. So inconsistent information, as you can see, they forgot it. Some genius can memories, but normally, generally, inconsistent information, we forgot about it. So if we consistent experience again, the consistent information that generated some schema. That is the purpose of our memory process to adapt to new culture or new information, new situation. So our memory select those kind of new information and abstract and integrated, just like neural circulation, and our brain make categorize new information and new knowledge. So then make brain long-term memory. We make a long-term memories. The schema provides a hypothesis about incoming stimulus. Incoming stimulus means the new knowledge and new data. So it is stored. So we can define the cultural schema as the stock of knowledge, which is familiar and acquainted about various situations. And also schema theory, cultural schema is a packet of the information stored in the memory, representing a general knowledge about object or situation, the event or actions, provide a hypothesis about incoming stimulation. The hypothesis, the schema has some kind of function to hypothesis, which means to, according to we studied in last session, uncertainty. When we face uncertainty, our brain, working to identify or predicted the uncertainties is what's going on. So the source, the function of our mind is the cultural schema. Cultural schema provide a hypothesis to explain the uncertainty situation or new information from the outside, out of cultures, from our group. 8 types of cultural schema, primary social interaction schemas. We can categorize the social interaction into a primary social interaction. So by using that, the cultural schema of our memory can be categorized into these 8 cultural schemas. In fact, that is a categorized of our knowledge. Our knowledge can be categorized in that kind of 8 types of knowledge, which means that categories should be one of our schema, right? So fact and concept schema, and the personal knowledge, the schema, the personal schema, the self schema, role schema, context schema, procedure schema, strategy schema, emotion schema. that this is a kind of our knowledge category. So knowledge is not just the crystal data, it is a knowledge about process. That is why the mindfulness is useful to get a new knowledge about the process, those or self-concept, the self-schema, the role concept, the role schema. That is eight types of cultural schema. That inside us, how we prepare to new culture. So when you study about new culture or when you prepare to doing business in new culture, we need to get to those kind of knowledge of new cultures. Fact, concept was a lot, except that one. So we need to find out another schema or another knowledge of the new culture, person. The new culture's person, the concept of a person, right? Or kind of hierarchy social system or something kind of that, or the women, the relationship with the women, power, distance, kind of that. So self-schema, the role schema, context. The role schema can be a role schema and the self-schema is related to worldview, right? So we need to categorize at least 8 categories. Knowledge is good for to understand new cultures and to do relate to the something new cultures. So you need to pay attention to that. Emotional schema, like that. Do you understand emotional feeling? Depending on the culture, the emotion is considered. Some emotion is good, some emotion is bad, but it can be different depending on the culture. For example, the shame. Shame is considered a bad thing in Western culture, right? So they tried, the psychologists encourage the people to get rid of the shame, to encourage the self-esteem. But from perspective of Asian, the shame is one of the fundamental emotion for reasonable person. Without shame, the person without shame is a kind of animal. We consider, Asian consider people without shame is just like an animal or uneducated